If you had a microscope and could look at a piece of a leaf, you would see thousands of tiny openings which branch out until the leaf has all of the materials it needs. What happens now?
Okay, welcome to exercise number 6, the geometric dance party. I think this is going to be a really fun project, and I cannot wait to see what you guys are going to do. We've given you 4 different pieces of music to choose from. They all have really different tones and styles, and they're all about 15 seconds in length, give or take, a few seconds or so. So, obviously music is a really personal thing. I definitely think you should choose either the song that you think you can work with the best, or the one that you like the most. Or maybe that's one track. I kind of want to walk you through the steps before you actually start animating on a project like this, just in case it's confusing or you're not really sure how to start on something like this, okay? Because this is our second project that involves a little bit of design. Just like the animation Oatmeal, I'm not giving you boards here or a look. I'm just giving you the tracks. So I want you to come up with the design of this project. Now, you can keep it super simple, or you can go crazy with it, whatever you're into. If you're not a designer, you don't have to sweat the design that much, okay? It doesn't have to be brilliant. It's mostly just an animation exercise, but design is really important. So I do kind of want to walk you through some steps that maybe I would take to give you a little bit of a design process if you've never done anything like this before, okay? So what I want you to start out by doing is research. And this is actually the most important part pretty much of any design process. And it's often one that people skip over a lot. So I definitely want you to do some research, okay? So first things first, choose your song and listen to the song and try to determine the mood of your song according to you. A really good question for asking yourself about music, always I find, is it day or is it night, okay? And I don't think you need to put into words what that means. Do you picture the song being played at night, or do you picture it being played during the day, And I think most of the songs that I've given you are night, but I think at least one of them is day, so you'll have to kind of try to figure that out. But I think day versus night is a really good way to think about music, and it'll start you on making some choices about it. If it's night, maybe it should primarily be dark with some highlights, and if it's day kind of a music, maybe it's the other way around, whatever. Different songs evoke different moods. So I would definitely, start there first, okay? The next thing that I'd like you to do is watch some dancing. We talked about this a bunch in the lecture, but just keep going with that. I think if your music is, if you choose a song and it's a samba, then look at some samba dancing, and see kind of how the music relates to the body shapes that are made when people dance to it, all right? So that's another thing. Obviously, colors, so go to Coolers or to Cooler or any of those other sites that help you pick out a color palette. I think it's going to be really important at this point that your color palette matches the tone of the song, okay? So definitely think about that. And another thing that I think would be a really good research step here, since this involves geometric shapes, geometric shapes are really simple, but they can have a lot of design to them. So what I think you should do is, what I would do, is go to Pinterest. And if you don't know Pinterest, it is a site that allows you to basically pin things, various images, and collect them up into groupings, okay? So for example, in talking about this, I went ahead onto my Pinterest board and I made a little collection about geometrics. Okay, and here's the little geometrics board that I just made, which I called Stunning Geometrics, okay? And I just quickly went through, and the way this is going to work is if you just I did a search for geometrics up here, and I started, basically once you arrive at one, I love this, for example, right? So if you were to select this, now if you look down here, it actually gives you some suggestions of kind of related images, and I love this too, so I could click on this and save that to my collection, right? And it's really easy. The way you do it is you just, I've already saved this one as it turns out, so let me do a different one. So this. If I hit save, then I can choose this Stunning Geometrics. I have a lot of different boards there, and then, then it'll give you ones like that, and this one's really cool, and I love this, I find a lot of inspiration in Pinterest, okay? So I think this is a great place to go, and what you could do then when you're done is kind of just look back at all the things that you've created, and hopefully this will give you some ideas as to color palettes or shapes or ways that you want to approach things. For example, this is really cool. It's just basically circles, but it's got textures and lines going on in it, okay? So that would be the kind of thing that I would gravitate toward wanting to work with. And then once you've taken that step and you kind of understand kind of what you want it to look like and the mood of it and the tone of it, okay? And you've got some colors. What I would definitely do next is, and this is optional, but again, if you want to create better design, and if you're interested in becoming a better designer, these are definitely steps I would recommend, but you don't have to do it for this class, okay? Not a design class, but I would design what are known as style frames. And it doesn't have to be that many of them. Like just say, you know, you didn't see this and you made this. This could be like a style frame, or just like even one of these, but in a 1920 by 1080 box with the right colors, okay? And that style frame is something for you to reach toward in terms of design. It's your own design based on the ideas that you've collected in your research, based on your idea of your song, and hopefully will fit really well into your project and once you line it up with the music, right? So if you're really interested in design process, I would design like maybe 3 style frames or something. It doesn't have to be exact shots from your piece, but it's more like, here's the way I'd like this to look. And what's really important is that you pick out a couple different looks. It's not just one style frame, because like I've said a few times, in order to avoid viewer fatigue for the audience, you want to kind of like change it up. Even in a short piece like 15 seconds, probably like every 5 seconds or so, you want to have like, not like a whole different look, but a different variation on that look, okay? So a lot of design often is like coming up with a look, and then figuring out a bunch of different things that look like that look that you could kind of cut to in your motion piece, all right? So I would definitely do that. And then, you know, the next stage, I think, is for you to move into After Effects and actually like I did, you know, in the exercise video, in the lecture video, is kind of like mark up the song, not like we did with Keyframe Killer on every word or anything. There's no words, obviously, in these songs. But in terms of sections, or in terms of little phrases of music, right? And that's kind of your little sentences of like where some little action is gonna begin and end, right? So if you think about breaking it down first, I think that's like actually a really helpful way to go too. And then, you know, at a certain point, you could make what's known as an animatic, though this might be more work than necessary for this particular example, but for like your final project, I'm definitely going to recommend that you make an animatic. And an animatic is like you lay out all the shots unanimated to the music, okay? And maybe there's like a really, really limited animation, like if you absolutely know, if like it won't make sense unless the circle moves from here to here for whatever reason or something, or the thing explodes or whatever, then you could put some very limited like animation in, maybe with some hold keyframes. But an animatic is just for you to begin to see like the timings of your piece without actually having animated anything. So you could theoretically just cut together JPEGs of some style frames that you make, if you want to board the whole thing out first, though in this case that might be overkill, but definitely for your final I would recommend that. And you know, that's pretty much it here. Once you have all that going, I think you could just jump in and start animating. I would definitely, you know, think about what I talked about in terms of dancing, and I would love to see it if there were some projects where there was some real variation between single objects on screen, multiple objects on screen, maybe a duet, and then maybe something where there's a lot of objects on screen at the same time, like a Busby Berkeley shot or an Elizabeth Streb shot, as it were. So have fun with this, and don't be frustrated by the design, but just try to like really go through a process with this, okay? And make some choices and understand why you're making those choices. That's another really big part of design. So thank you very much. Definitely have fun with this, and I can't wait to see how these come out. I'm really looking forward to it. Thank you so much.
If you had a microscope and could look at a piece of a leaf, you would see thousands of tiny openings which branch out until the leaf has all of the materials it needs. What happens now?